Hi, guys. Welcome to tonight's live chat. I see some of you chatting away. I was just talking to Daima for a little bit there um, as I was waiting, and it looks like everything is operating good. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in. Daima actually gave a pretty good book. So if you guys see her comment, you may want to try the book that she's suggesting. It sounds really good. I haven't read it yet, but it sounds really good. So thank you for that, Dime. I really appreciate when you guys share resources with all of us. Thank you. Let's jump into this topic, okay? I think this is a very complicated topic in some ways because when you're dealing with family, you're dealing with friends, you're in a relationship with someone, or you're working in an environment with someone who just doesn't seem to have an open mind about things. And in a sense, you may feel that, this individual is comfortable where they are. They don't want to move left. They don't want to move right. They don't want to go up. They just want to stay where they are. It can be really difficult to live a life like that with someone, to make this more relatable. I'm going to give you a little bit of an example just to start us off a little bit. So years ago, maybe about 5 years ago, I had been seeing a family. I worked in a community mental health setting where you guys know what a community mental health is, right? Where, there's this clinic in a community. It's the only clinic that everybody tends to go to. It's in the city or one place in a rural area. And you can go there and get medication and therapy and schedule appointments and things like that. So I was working there as a group therapist. And I was providing group therapy to a group of individuals who had just given up on life. They had this internalized sense of learned helplessness. And we're going to talk about that a little bit as we go along. But they had this internalized sense of learned helplessness. They didn't know how to move to the left. They didn't know how to move to the right. They just kind of got stuck where they were because of how they saw life, because of their experiences, because of their trauma. And also because of having family members who were content or at least comfortable with how far they had gotten in their life. So you may feel this way as well, but basically this live chat is about trying to live a life with individuals who are kind of in a stuck place. And they want you to be stuck. They want you to feel stuck. And maybe they communicate in ways with you that can make you feel stuck. So we're going to get into that. But this example, so there was a young lady in group therapy with me, and she was wonderful. I couldn't understand what it was that was holding her back. She had graduated from high school, high honors. She was valedictorian. She had worked a job for a family-owned business for several years. They had given her a raise. She was making $20 an hour from this family. She had saved up a lot of money. Once she graduated high school, she bought her own car. It wasn't, a fancy car, but it was her first car. It was cute. It was reliable. So she had done some really good things, and she had some opportunities in her life. But sitting there in that group therapy environment with me and everybody else, I would just look at her in astonishment, because I couldn't understand, why is this smart, intelligent, independent young girl stuck? Why is she still living with her parents? Why is she still allowing them to abuse her? Why is she still in a relationship with this guy who is nothing but a headache to her and is holding her back? And after several sessions, I think we were 12 sessions in. It was a 20-week kind of a program. So we were 12 group sessions in. And she opened up to us and she said, this is why I'm stuck in my life. My mom tells me that I'm not going to ever be anything, that I'm going to be stuck in this position forever. My dad tells me that I am not going to be able to leave this town and become anything better than what I am, because he never became anything that was better than where we are. I have a sibling, an older brother who is on drugs and has been in and out of rehabilitation programs since the age of 15. And he is kind of comfortable with living in a rural area that's poverty stricken, that isn't going to take us anywhere but down. Everybody in this rural city is just, this rural area is just stuck. And my family is very comfortable with where they are. I often have, and this is what she said to me, and I remember this verbatim. She says, I often have a friend who reminds me that we have grown up in an area where nobody graduates college. Everybody is stuck at high school level or below, and everybody seems to be content with where they are. Who do I think I am, trying to get any higher or go any higher than I am? And so, I just felt awful, because it almost felt like this young lady was believing these lies that were coming into her world from her family and her friend and her environment. And she was just stuck. One of the things, and here's the premise of this entire live chat tonight, guys. Here's what I told her. You are around individuals who have what is called a fixed mindset. A fixed mindset. And a fixed mindset is really the belief that abilities, qualities, talents, etc., are unchangeable and innate. So it's almost like a learned helplessness, that I feel that any kind of talent, ability, intelligence, mindset, qualities, I believe that they are inborn and they are innate. And because of that belief system, I have kind of developed a learned helplessness. And this learned helplessness kind of makes me content with where I am and where my family is and where my friends are and where my environment is. And so therefore, I am stuck. And my mind says I am fixed and I am not moving. Setbacks are seen as inherent. Setbacks are seen as innate. They're unchangeable. I've been given this life, and this is what I'm comfortable with. The concept of a fixed mindset in a urban environment, in an inner city environment, may be considered a small mind, in quotation marks. It may be considered a content attitude, right? The idea of a fixed mindset, which we're going to get into this, we're going to delve into this just a little bit more. The idea of a fixed mindset was actually brought about. It's a term coined by a Stanford researcher by the name of Dr. Carol Dweck. And she has identified that a fixed mindset basically says that there is absolutely no room for improvement. There is absolutely no room for advancement. There is no room for change, improvement, success. There is none of it. The idea is I am fixed, I am firm, and I believe that abilities, talents, qualities, success are innate. They're inherent, and setbacks are inherent. And so therefore, I have absolutely given up. I'm going to give up. I'm going to stop trying. I'm going to be content with where I am, even if it's at a level that isn't going to get me anywhere. I'm content there. Why? Because I have a little bit of things that makes me feel a little bit okay about it. I have a little bit of money to get me from here to there. I have about, 2 friends that I can talk to once a year. I really don't want to try. And because I don't want to try, because I'm so tired of trying, and my mind is fixed that we're in a capitalist society. And so because of that, there's no need to try to be successful. There's no need to go get a better job. There's no need to stop doing drugs. There's no need to get better. Why? Because I'm content here. I have a fixed mindset. And in a toxic family dynamic, guess what happens to the other people, which may be you, who are growing up in a household with people who have a fixed mindset, or maybe your mom and dad had a fixed mindset, or maybe your siblings had a fixed mindset. Guess what happens to you? You then can either begin to experience depression or anxiety. We're going to get into this a little bit later, but I'm giving you a little bit of a preview. But you can start to feel depressed and anxious, right? You can start to feel like you want to give up eventually. There's no sense in me trying either, because mom and dad say there's no sense. My sister and my brother say there's no sense, and so does my neighbor. So we might as well just stay here and be okay with it, right? A fixed mindset. And so in psychology, a fixed mindset says don't try. There's no need to. Nobody else has ever made it, so why try? And can you imagine the impact this can have on your life? If you're dealing with a parent who doesn't want you to succeed, you're dealing with a sibling who doesn't want you to make it anywhere in your life, you're dealing with a friend, maybe you're in a relationship with somebody who just doesn't want you to make it. Why? Because they have a fixed mindset. They have a quote unquote small mentality that, if you talk to urban city individuals or people who are in the city, they will call it a small mind, or they will call it a small mentality. And it's a stuck place of existing. It says, again, that setbacks are because of me. They're inherent. I am born this way. I am unchangeable. I'm okay where I'm at. Failure is overgeneralized in these individuals' minds and in their lives. Failure is also kind of overgeneralized to one's entire identity. Let me go back over that. Failure is sometimes overgeneralized to one's entire identity. I can't do anything right. Failure is overgeneralized to one's entire identity. That's a fixed mindset. I can't do anything right. I can't succeed. I wasn't good at math, so why should I go on and become a nurse? I wasn't good in chemistry in high school, so why go on and become a doctor? Why go on and try to become a lawyer because I dropped out of high school? I can't do it, In a toxic family dynamic, a sibling who has dropped out of school, a parent or father who is very insecure and believes that all his setbacks is a sign that he is cursed, his family is cursed, meaning you, his child, for example, that can take a major toll on your own mental and emotional health. And it can also cause you to see yourself in a way that's unhealthy, right? I have a client now, without violating too much, confidentiality. I have a client who's struggling with this. Dad has really given up, and dad has, absolutely no hope for the future. And his loss of hope started when he was 15. He doesn't want therapy, but he did come to a session with me, and he was very open with me. But he doesn't want therapy, even though he needs it so terribly. But at 15, he developed a fixed mindset. And the fixed mindset was, I'm never going to be anything. I'm a complete failure. I can't get through school. My mom and dad have absolutely no idea what I'm learning, and they can't help me with homework. They don't get it, which that's nothing. Because if you saw the kids' homework from in today, guys, oh my God. Some of my young kiddos that come see me for therapy, they bring their homework in and they're like, hey, Miss Tamara, and they show me, can you help me with this? And I'm like, nope, sorry, I don't know what that says. Is that Chinese? What is that? So homework is really tough, for certain generations. So we don't want to, I don't want to minimize that at all. But he did share that his parents said, you know what, I can't help you with this. I don't get it. And so at age 15, he gave up. And so he's age 45 and he still has given up. And what's he doing to my client? Trying to not intentionally, but unintentionally discourage her from getting close to her dreams, which is to travel the world, save money. She wants to be a van lifer, if you know what that is. I'm sure you guys do. And she wants to travel the world. And I think she is so intelligent. She could do it. But dad's insecurities and his his unresolved fixed mindset is getting in her way. And that's a sad reality. Let me also mention two more things before I go to the chat box, welcome you and see what you guys are saying, because I'm sure you guys are well aware of people who have a fixed mindset. They have a way of just pulling you down with them, whether they realize it or not, whether it's intentional or unintentional. They just kind of pull you down with them, you know? So let me also mention here perseveration. You guys probably have heard of that term, perseveration. Perseveration is a psychological term used to refer to an individual who has an autism spectrum disorder, and they tend to kind of grab a hold of something and they just kind of obsess over it and they perseverate on it. It's just like this continual going over it in their mind, you know? It's almost like a form of chewing gum. That's how I explain it to my kiddos under the age of 15 who see me for therapy. They have autism spectrum disorder. I have at least 5 or 6 kiddos who have ASD. And I tell them, you're perseverating. And they're like, what does that mean, Miss Tamara? Or sometimes they're like, oh, am I? They don't even know they're doing it. But I often explain it to them this way, that it's almost like chewing gum, right? You just keep chewing and chewing and chewing and chewing and it's over and over and over. And it can become like this obsessive rumination, this thought pattern that they can't get out of. And so their perseveration can sometimes be of loss and failure. And I have a kiddo like that. It's I'm not enough. I'm never going to be enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm never going to do good enough. I'm never going to be anything successful. And he just chews and chews and he can't get off of it. So perseveration can also be a clinical symptom, in quotation marks, of individuals who have a fixed mindset. Sometimes it is a clinical thing, and they can't help that they have a fixed mindset that kind of keeps them stuck. Some people have a clinical syndrome like perseveration or rumination that's a part of a disorder, and other people have a fixed mindset because of life experience, trauma, low self-esteem, feelings of inadequacy, learned helplessness, right? So a fixed mindset could be the cause of a variety of things, but just for this particular part of the discussion, perseveration is something that is part of a clinical syndrome. It's part of a disorder. Let me also mention here too, before I go to the chat box, that sometimes individuals with a fixed mindset are so quote unquote unwell in their own lives. A lot of them have emotional instability. A lot of them have unresolved psychiatric issues. A lot of these individuals have very, very low self-esteem. They're envious. They're problematic in relationships. They tend to be impulsive. Sometimes they also have a fear of abandonment, right? Because they feel like they don't have anything to offer. So why would somebody stay? So they kind of develop over time this fear of abandonment. Sometimes these individuals with a fixed mindset can also have a really, really hard time with success, and not success for themselves, but success in other people. And so sometimes you may find yourself in a situation in your family or in a relationship or a neighbor or a friend or a work situation where the other individual has a fixed mindset. They think life is over for them. You go to them and say, you know what? I want to buy that BMW. Or, you know what? I think that's my husband over there, or, I think I'm going to have my hair cut. I'm going to put on the best suit and I'm going to try to get that job. You may go to this person with a fixed mindset with that disposition, which is fantastic. You're confident, right? And that's okay. And that other person with a fixed mindset may say, who do you think you are? Or how dare you? Or he would never marry you, right? Or they may say something like, Uncle Tom never got anywhere. He dropped out of 10th grade. He didn't get anywhere, and neither did your mom, and neither did your father. So where are you going? Or they may say, no, I wish you all the best with that job, but I don't know if you qualify. You may hear some sarcasm. You may hear some jealousy and envy. You may hear them kind of throw that fishing rod out there and try to reel you in and remind you of what you aren't. And so this can get really ugly. So I'm going to tease apart for you the attitudes and the behaviors of a person with a fixed mindset that is in your environment and maybe has intentionally tried to discourage you. I'm also going to give you a little bit of research so that you can see the clinical foundation of this idea, because I think researcher Dr. Carol Dweck, I'm saying her name wrong, Dweck, Dweck, just so you can have that spelling. I put her research in the description box as well, so you can have that. But I think she's onto something here. And I like the fact that she's given it a clinical term, because a lot of times, I can't just look at a client and say, you know what, that mom over there has a small mind and she doesn't want you to go anywhere. And she doesn't want you to go anywhere because she never made it. I don't have the clinical language for that. But thank God for Dr. Carol Dweck, because she says a fixed mindset is what we can call this clinically, and that's helpful. So I'm going to tease apart their behaviors for you. I'm going to give you some research, and then for the final part of this live chat, I'm going to tell you how this impacts you, because it impacts you. Negative energy impacts you, and somebody may not outright speak to you or verbalize that they feel that you shouldn't be able to gain anything in life. But sometimes you can feel that. Your intuition can tell you somebody feels that way or thinks that way about you, and just that negative energy, right? And it can literally put out your candle, and you may give up or feel like you need to give up because that other person doesn't want you to succeed. So we're going to get into this. Okay, guys, let me go to the chat box. You guys are really chatting it up. So I think this is a good conversation for you guys. So let's start with welcoming you. I'm going to look for some comments as well. Phoenix, so glad to see you. Welcome, welcome. Black girls getting their shift together. Hello, welcome. Glad to hear that you're excited about this live chat. Let me also give you like a little bit of a preview. Tomorrow is going to be a conversation on growth mindset. That's a clinical term, the growth mindset. And that growth mindset has a variety of theories that you want to know. And at the end of that conversation tomorrow, I'm going to give you some tips on how to develop, cultivate, and maintain that growth mindset, because we all need that, right? God is love. Hello and welcome. Glad to see you in tonight's live chat. And I don't know if I thanked you in the previous chat. Thank you so much for becoming a member of the channel. I truly appreciate that. Thank you. Mama Boom Bam, hello. Glad to have you in tonight's live chat. Says, keeping an open mind and being true to myself while dealing with closed-minded people, challenging but possible. Peace to all. Yes, it is challenging, right? I agree with that. It is very challenging. Again, somebody with a fixed mindset or a quote unquote small mindset, they don't want you to succeed. And they may intentionally or unintentionally let you know that, Really, it's a lot of intuition that tells you when a person doesn't want you to make it, because sometimes, as you know, they can smile in your face. They can encourage you. Sometimes they may send you encouraging messages, but as soon as you try to take steps to really getting ahead, they may say, no, no, no. They may step on your coattail and say, no, 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 get back here. Who do you think you are? And that is the ugliest thing, right, guys? Dawn One, hello and welcome. Always glad to see you in a live chat. Welcome, Cam and Laura Fit, as well as Jason and Cherry's Jubilee. Hello and welcome. Glad to see you all in tonight's live chat. McKenna Lanny, I hope I'm saying that correct. Welcome. Says, I've given up dealing and I've given up dealing with, I think you were trying to say, I've given up dealing with my family and just chose to not have any family at this point. Yeah, I understand. I never like to encourage that. That's a move that I never encourage, because I think humble, loving, connecting, mutually beneficial family can be a wonderful thing. But if you have a family that's toxic and unhealthy and unwell and dysfunctional and belittling, or they have a fixed small mindset, then sometimes you do have to do what you have to do. And if that means no contact or limited contact, that's what you have to do. McKenna? So I'm with you. Wendy O. Sullivan, hello and welcome. Glad to see you in tonight's live chat, and thank you for that energy. She says, we are ready to learn. Love to see that. Google Life or Kehem Paul. I don't know which one is which, but hello and welcome. I'm not sure what that means. Maybe clarify that for me as we go along. Starburst, hello and welcome. Glad to see you in tonight's live chat. Sun and Sunflowers, glad to see you as well. Welcome. Yes, you did make it. Cherry's Jubilee says, it's miserable. My partner expects me to give up my dreams and sits here waiting to die of old age. I'm 43. I have goals and passions. Absolutely. Cherry's Jubilee, you have to do what you have to do. You know, you and I are around the same age. I'm going to put it that way. We're around the same age. So here's what I say. If you have somebody in your life who's just kind of like stuck and they're digging their heels in and they don't want to move, I just feel like we're too old for that. You know, make a move, make a decision, do something, something, right? Because you're right. When you have goals and aspirations, you kind of have to move. Sometimes you do have to kind of hover for lack of a clinical term, you have to kind of hover for a little bit, figure out if you're making the right decision, if you're going the right road, if you're making a wise decision. Sometimes you have to make small baby steps and small moves, but sometimes you just have to move, right? David Tooley, hello and welcome. Glad to see you in tonight's live chat. Tammy Nicely, hello and welcome. Glad to see you in tonight's live chat. Yeah, look at you watching on the big screen tonight. Glad to see you. Always glad to see you. Elizabeth, hello, welcome. Glad to see you. And I got all your messages. I promise I'm going to get back to you. I've just been so booked and so very busy, but I do see you. Yeah, so glad this is good for you. Good. Lord Fitz says they were probably withholding encouragement. They always do. People with a fixed mindset, they withhold encouragement. They withhold affection sometimes. They withhold making you feel confident in the decisions that you are going to make. And based on the recent video that I just did on arrogant know-it-alls, let me also say some of them are arrogant know-it-alls. They say to you, you're not going to make it. Let me tell you why. Here's another example why. And I hope that you go to a lesser position in life because I really don't think you're going to make it. And sometimes arrogant know-it-alls will tell you that, and they will outright tell you that. And I've been in sessions where, that's the case. And I look at this arrogant person in amazement. And sometimes, because arrogant people trigger me, sometimes I will call them out and say, give me some kind of concrete evidence that would suggest that this person who is my client will not make it. What's the evidence for that? And sometimes they can't come up with anything. Sometimes they'll try to give me something like, well, she dropped out of high school. Okay, she can get her GED. Well, she was fired from 5 jobs. What makes you think she's going to stay at this one? People change, Sometimes they'll just give me like a little bit of whatever they think is a good answer. But sometimes the reason I'm mentioning this is sometimes arrogant, prideful individuals will make those kind of statements and hope that you listen to them and just give up. Kev Dower, hello. I love that. That is so cute. Thank you, Kev Dower. Welcome. Glad to have you in tonight's live chat. Cherry's Jubilee says societal trauma. Yes. Yep. Ellie One, hello and welcome to tonight's live chat. Always glad to see you in a live chat. I'm always glad to see all of you. I should probably just say it at the beginning of the live chat. Glad to see you all. Nancy R, hello and welcome back. Glad to see you. Says, my father seemed to have a fixed mindset. I could never make him happy or proud. Yeah. Yes. I'm going to leave it at that, Nancy. I was going to comment, but I'm going to leave it at that because as we go along, I'm sure you'll have more comments and I'll address it then. The Retro Woman 80, always glad to see you in a live chat because I know you're always busy during my lives, but welcome. Glad to see you. You're welcome, David Tully. Always glad to see you as well in the live chat. Zara, hello and welcome. I hope I said your name correctly. Says, wow. I'm guessing that this hits home. Kyle Reese, hello and welcome. I haven't seen you before, so welcome. Glad to have you. Sarah, hello and welcome. Says, ooh, I finally caught you on a live. Glad to see you from Australia. I totally want to come there before my time is up on Earth. So welcome. I love Australia. It's so beautiful. And I used to read a lot about it and have friends over in Australia. And yeah, so you're going to see me there one day, I'm sure, Sarah. Sarah goes on and says, usually I watch the reruns. Always love your discussions and appreciate the work that you do. Thank you so much. So grateful for that comment. Thank you. And so glad these conversations are helpful. Glad you can make it live. Kyle Reese says, first time of catching a live stream. Yes, glad to see you. To be fair, I discovered this channel less than a week ago. Glad to have you. Glad to have you. Ooh, my mom dropped something upstairs. Sorry, guys, if you heard that. Sun and Sunflower says, my family, they brag about their accomplishments. Once I graduated with my degree, silence, nothing. They don't acknowledge it. Yes. And this is really important to keep in mind that most individuals with a small mindset or a fixed mindset, they never encourage you in a positive way. They never really give you that one-on-one attention that you're looking for. Really what you're going to find in these individuals is they may congratulate you in a group. Right? They may go to a group text and congratulate you. They may go to a group email and congratulate you, or they may congratulate you at your graduation ceremony where everybody is, or wedding. These are the individuals, and research backs this. We're going to talk a little bit about this in a minute, that these individuals, they will sometimes totally refrain from contacting you on an individual basis to encourage you or congratulate you. They will often do it when it's a part of a group. You know, it's almost like everybody's congratulating you, so I will do the same because I don't want to stick out like a sore thumb. But most of these people really don't do this on an individual basis. They're too insecure. Saint Questions, hello and welcome. Glad to have you in tonight's live chat. I see that you're relating to this conversation as well. Don One says, I knocked down the barriers at age 50. Good for you, Don One. That's awesome. Life is too short to waste. I totally agree. Totally agree. Lala Papa, I probably messed that up. I apologize. Welcome to tonight's live chat, and thank you so much for that. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Glad to have you on the channel as well. Andrew Mercer, hello and welcome. I don't remember seeing you, so welcome. Yaya, hello and welcome. I see you're back in tonight's live chat. Jeanette, hello and welcome. Okay, looking for comments before I go back to the content. McKenna Lanny, I probably messed that up. I apologize. She goes on to say, I had so many offers for singing and learning from Egypt to Italy and China. That's amazing. And my parents held me back constantly. My dad reminds me that our bloodline is made for pain. Oh my. And you know that's a problem with him. It's not a problem with you, McKenna. Lisa Smith, hello and welcome. Glad to see you back in a live chat. Glad to see you tonight. Says, a great saying I like to remind myself of is we can only meet other people as far as they can meet themselves. Truly love that. Thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying that. Absolutely love that. Okay. Nancy, you're my last one before I go back to the content. Nancy R says, does any person with a fixed mindset think that their thoughts, ideas are the only right way? Sometimes they do. Absolutely. That's why they are trying to get you to minimize your extravagant way of thinking about life. They try to get you to minimize how you see yourself. They try to get you to minimize all the opportunities that could be out there for you. They do have a problem with that. They also may not just think that their way is the right way. They actually, in some cases, and this is backed by clinical research as well, that they may actually believe that they are protecting you, right? I once had a father come to therapy, told his daughter, don't go to that college, because if you go to that college, this family is not going to accept you. We don't go to Ivy League schools. We go to schools like a community college. He wanted her in an inner city college. Then he wanted her in a rural college. And I remember her coming to session crying, talking to me about this. And I told her, this was several years ago, you need to go to the place that you want to go. And so she chose to go to that Ivy League school. I'm very proud to say that she went on to Stanford, and she is now a lawyer. But her dad wanted to keep her back. Why? He said to her right in a session, I was floored, okay? But he said this to her in a session, we make something of ourselves. We are not Ivy League people. We work hard and we go to schools that are typical schools in daily life. They're community, they're rural, they're urban, they're inner city. We do not go to Ivy League. And then he tried to put fear in her, Nancy Arm, directing this mainly at you to answer your question. He put fear in her. He said, you're going to go into a lot of debt and you're going to be paying off your debt for the rest of your life. My response to that was, we all are. Those of us who have gone to school for many years. I've gone to school for 10 years. And then, my client's going to need to go to school for 5+ years to get a law degree. Thankfully, she's now a lawyer going on to be a judge. But Nancy let me just say, her dad was very much this way. He thought he was right, and he thought he was protecting her. And he was doing it in a way that just wasn't okay. Let me give you some tips. Let's go ahead back to the content, guys. Let me give you some ideas, not tips, but ideas of how these people behave and what's their typical disposition and attitude. One particular way that they tend to be, and some of the research that I've put in the description box for you kind of supports this idea that these kind of fixed mindsets, these individuals with a fixed mindset, they don't accept failure or mistakes. What happens when they meet a hard road in life? They say, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. I'm out. I was turned away from this job. I give up. I tried to get into college. I give up. Uncle BB over there didn't make it. I'm just going to go get a job at the dollar store. That's good enough for me. These individuals struggle with their own issues. Some of them have mental health issues. Some of them have personality disorders. And like I said in my recent video on arrogant know-it-alls, some of these individuals do not like to take orders from others. So they get fired, they're removed from places, their contracts are terminated. All kind of things happen to these individuals because they have a fixed mindset. They either think they're too big to do what they're supposed to do to make it in life, or they think they're beneath trying. And so they give up. So these individuals really can't accept failure and mistakes. These individuals also have what's the word that I'm looking for here? I'm blanking. I'll put it this way. They don't like to try unknown things because of fear and anxiety. I'm blanking on the word that describes this, but these kind of individuals, they really do struggle with trying. And they don't like to try. They don't like to try anything new. They don't want to put effort into anything because it's too hard. It's too tiring. And if they've been turned away once, they're not going to try it again because in their mind, this may happen again. I may be turned away again. So what do? They kind of go over in the corner, almost like a lost child, and they kind of take the attitude of, oh, well, I guess this life that I have right now is for me. And that's as far as I'm going to go, So sometimes these family members or, friends, maybe somebody you're in a relationship with, they really can become so obsessive, or they can ruminate over and over about their losses and failures that they just, out of fear of anxiety, say, you know what, I'm not going to keep doing this. They also avoid challenges that tests their perseverance. They say, you know what, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to take that test over there that may get me into the best college in the world. I'm not going to take that driver's license exam because I'm afraid that I may fail it. I'm not going to take that test over there that's going to help me graduate high school because I'm terrified. So I'm just going to emancipate myself and drop out of school. There's multiple ways that these individuals think, but it's always in the form of failure. I don't want to experience the pain of failure. I don't want to go anywhere because I can't. I believe I can't. Remember, a fixed mindset is the thought that abilities, qualities, talents, and one's ability to do something correctly is based on the thought that failure is inherent, that it's innate. Setbacks are caused by me. I have been born this way and cursed kind of mentality. There's often little to no effort in things. There's also withdrawal and self-pity. And there may also be apathy, meaning this individual is numb. They've experienced some really hard times in their life. And so now they're numb. And so that numbing sensation or feeling that they have because of all their pain, because of all their bad experiences, that numbing effect that it's had on them is now being perpetuated throughout generations, because now mom is so numb to life because she's experienced so much trauma, so much failure, so much anger, and just so much hostility. She's experienced so much that now she's numb, but now she's passing that on to me. Now she's telling me not to try. Now she's trying to hold me back. Now she's jealous of my marriage. Now she's envious of the job I have. Now she's trying to hold me back from that relationship over there, And again, this could be unintentional and intentional as well. And lastly, in this category, before I go to the research and what it says, these individuals can also have what we call cognitive distortions. And cognitive distortions, we all experience them, but some more than others. And these are fixed mindsets or a fixed way of seeing life that is skewed, and sometimes skewed by fear and high intense emotion. A cognitive distortion for a person with a small mind, a fixed mind, or a fixed mindset may have a distortion of fortune telling. That's a term to describe a way that someone thinks in a skewed way. Fortune telling cognitive distortion is this: that I already see that if I get into college, I'm going to fail. So I might as well not even try to get into college because I'm going to fail. I already see ahead of myself that I'm going to have a divorce because my mom was divorced, my dad remarried and got divorced, my cousin was divorced, my brother was divorced. Where do I think I'm going with this marriage? So I'm already seeing myself down the line divorcing. Fortune telling. Another cognitive distortion may be mind reading. Mind reading. That person is looking at me weird over there, and they really don't believe that I'm a good nurse. They think I'm incompetent, Or another parent is looking at me judging my parenting, and I can already read on their face that they think I'm a horrible parent, right? Cognitive distortion is mind reading. Sometimes people with a fixed mindset, they kind of get stuck in their cognitive distortions. And even though we all think this way sometimes, we can all think this way sometimes, people with a fixed or small mindset get really stuck and they can't move. They don't know how to free themselves from the cognitive distortions that keeps them stuck. So what do? They kind of internalize and they keep going. And if they can, they'll stop you, whether that's intentionally or unintentionally. Now, there's a growing body of research, and this is interesting because I couldn't find a lot of research on fixed mindset, but there's a growing body of research that says a fixed intelligence mindset, and I'm going to break down what that means. It causes the emergence of poor emotional reactions. A fixed intelligence mindset causes the emergence of emotional reactions that are intense or high. So feeling that your intelligent level or your intelligence is fixed, that it can't be improved upon, it can't be stretched or grown, is what we call a fixed intelligence mindset. And research suggests that if a person has a certain level of belief, a high level of belief that their intelligence is fixed, it's unchanging, it's innate, it cannot be improved upon, then they tend to experience really high and intense emotions when they have any kind of setback in life. Why? Because again, they're thinking to themselves, my intelligence level is pretty small. So why am I going to try to get into college? College is not for me. You know, I'm not going to try to graduate high school because I'm an average thinker. I've heard clients say that to me in the past. I'm an average thinker. I don't have a certain level of intelligence that I need to get from point A to point B. So I'm just going to stay stuck here. And so again, that's called the fixed intelligent mindset. A growing body of research says that it causes the emergence of negative emotions or emotional reactions that are high. Another body of research is also finding out that a fixed mindset, a small mindset, actually leads to poor mental health outcomes. And I'm sure that's really not a shocker, right? Because you may have, let's say, for example, your parent who is quite narcissistic, but she hasn't made it very far in life. So we're talking about a vulnerable narcissist, a narcissist who has very superior thoughts about themselves and their life. They don't look like they're arrogant, but underneath the surface, they're arrogant, right? So let's say that this is your mom and she hasn't made it too far in life. The fact that she believes that there is no intelligence in her family, there's no real talent or ability in her family to do anything, and there's no real talent and ability within you, her child, to go anywhere, that can lead to poor mental health outcomes. It could lead her to suffer anxiety and depression and really not get better. It can cause the development of resistant depression, or treatment resistant depression, I should say. It can make it really hard for an individual to get better because they have this constant mentality of, I'm stuck, you're stuck, we're all going nowhere, And it can also cause poor mental health outcomes for you. You have a mom that's trying to hold you back because she's terrified and doesn't believe you're going to make it in life. So she's holding you back, right? And doing that to you can lead to your own poor mental health outcome. Let me also say briefly, before I go to the chat box and engage you, before I give you information on how this all impacts you, let me also say there's another research study that was recently done. I'm going to post that in the description box for you because I don't think I have. But there's another research study that was done on performance. And if an individual has failed in some fashion, let's say you applied for a job, you went to the interview and they didn't hire you. They didn't think you interviewed well. Okay. That failed encounter, you may want to call it, I failed. They didn't hire me. They didn't think I was good at what I was talking about, or they didn't think I was experienced. So let's say that you see that as failure. Your fixed mindset that one experience was a failure can then lead you to have your own fixed mindset in the future. So it can actually impair your ability to get further ahead. It can impact your ability to reapply for a job. Why? Because you've now acquired this fixed mindset that I'm no good, so I might as well just stay stuck, So being rejected, I guess we could say that that's what happens if you're not hired. Being rejected can actually cause a fixed mindset on your part. It can also cause a fixed mindset on somebody else's mind. Fixed mindset on the part of somebody, I'm trying to say, guys, on somebody that's close to you. And if they have a fixed mindset, more than likely they're going to, in some way, impede upon your own mind. And you may begin to think, you know what, maybe they're right. I really am a failure. Something is, it's not right here. I continue to struggle in life. I continue to be up against things that I can't seem to get over. So yeah, I think I'm a failure. So research suggests that if you have one situation of rejection, or if you have multiple, it can lead you to have or develop your own fixed mindset. Okay, let me go to the chat box. I need a little bit of a break. And I'm going to tell you how this impacts you. If you have a family like this, if you're in a relationship like this, You're going to want to know how this impacts you. Jeanette says, fixed mindset. Let me turn my heat off, guys. I am hot. Hold on. I was freezing at the beginning of the live chat. Okay. Jeanette says, a fixed mindset is for sure negative energy. Time to heal the hurt. Thank you, Tamara, and everyone. Yes, you're welcome. Fixed mindset is for sure negative energy. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I'll break it down just a little bit. Fixed mindset, we were born into a family that never went anywhere. Where do you think you're going? What does that say to you? If a family member verbalizes that to you, I've heard it in sessions with my clients over the past 15 years of my career. Somebody says, where do you think you're going? You know, to somebody else that's a part of a family dynamic, right? If somebody says to you, where do you think you're going? What does that send you? You know, it sends you the negative energy that where do you think you're going says you don't have what it takes. You know, it's kind of in the tone. It's in the questioning. And it can really change your mind and how you see yourself, you know. Joe, hello and welcome to tonight's live chat. Glad to see you tonight. Says, hey, Tamara, nice to catch you live again. Yes, glad to have you again. Joe goes on to say, even though it's super late in the UK, you do such great topics. Thank you so much for that. And yeah, you're right. It is late in the UK. You're right. Yeah. I don't know how to make my time reflect the UK time. Because believe it or not, guys, the two countries that tend to watch this channel the most, USA and the UK. And I can never coordinate the time. So my UK people, I'm sorry for that. I'm trying to figure that out. I really am. Tammy nicely says, someone with a fixed mindset can stop your growth as a person and keep you down and not going anywhere in life. Yes, they can. But somehow you have to leave them behind because it's impossible to move on with. Yes, it is. And I'm actually going to star your comment, Tammy nicely, because I think that is perfectly said. You can't move forward. And you can't move forward for that reason. But you also can't move forward because a person who has a fixed mindset, they're going to sing you a negative vibe, right? And that negative vibe seeps into your psyche, seeps into your heart. And then you begin to think and behave in a way that kind of puts you in a position of failure. And that is not a good thing. I just told a mom the other day that if you want your son to come out to be a gentleman, to come out to be smart and intelligent and insightful and empathic, you have to find the right environment that models that for him. And she just sat there like, I never thought of it that way. Yes, you have to take the child, put them in an environment where all those wonderful things can be fostered, even humility, you know? And so that's even for, we grown-ups that, if you're around somebody that has a fixed mindset, you want to step out of that and get into a relationship or an environment where a person can cheer you on and say, I want you to make it, guys. Even if that means no return for me, I want you to make it. That's like a sacrificial position. But you want to take yourself out of the negative environment and put it in a growth mindset environment, which we're going to talk about tomorrow. T Max says, I grew up in a family who struggled with addiction. Being that I'm the only man in the family who never used drugs, that is really good to know. Good for you, T Mac. They intentionally tried to sabotage me. They look at me as if I was better than them. Yeah, sometimes they will. Sometimes they will. That's kind of the dynamic of the date rape drug. The dynamic says, you trust me, and I believe that I can impact you in some way. So I'm going to slip this in your drink in hopes that you become defenseless and you become what I want you to become, and so that's kind of the mentality. And that can be a possible dynamic within a family as well, T-Mac. It could be, okay, I'm a narcissistic mother and I don't want my son to make it. So what do? I kind of sabotage him. And I make sure that I encourage relationships that are not healthy. I make sure that I encourage him to give up when it looks like he's trying to get somewhere. Believe it or not, there are parents like this, and they are considered the sociopath parents, and they are also considered the narcissistic parents. They have a very cold demeanor, and they don't have an emotional attachment to their children. And they really do, whether that's intentionally or unintentionally, they really do cause harm for their children. So it doesn't shock me, T-Mac. Joe says, it's really interesting. When I was talking with my therapist this week, and we discussed the fact that my sister is always coming across formally with her combination with me, which can be understood as, I see you completed that, Joe, being cold. I see what you mean. Yeah. 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 I don't know if I have anything to say in response to that, but I know exactly what you're talking about. I do. Yeah. I'm not going to say anything on that. I was, but I digress. Mama Boom Bam says, learning and practicing to let others have an opinion, but not influence your core truth. Yeah, that is good. I'm going to star that one. That's good too. Roman T, hello and welcome. Glad to see you back in tonight's live chat. And thank you so much for that compliment. Thank you. Polly, hello. Welcome. Glad to have you in tonight's live chat. A newbie. Welcome. Glad to have you. I get so excited when I see new people in the live chat. It's like a growing family for all of you, and then for me too, you know. AV says, is a family member who believes you could never do what they do, example, start a business, is that a fixed mindset? I think so. I think so. The fixed mindset is this, that starting a business is only good for me. Starting a business is only good for her over there. Starting a business is only good for people who have graduated high school. You know, starting a business, I've had this said around me in different areas. There was back in 2018 when I left the public environment and I started my own private practice. I would go to meetings and go to classes just to, you know, make sure that I understand things correctly as to what it meant to start a business. And so there would be group conversations, and I would hear other people say, starting a business is only for college students, or starting a business is only for people who have these kind of characteristics. And I would sit there and think, no, it's not. You know, if you watch a typical show of, what's that show? My brother loves it, Shark Tank. If you watch Shark Tank, for example, a lot of them have stories, and one is from my hometown, who did not succeed in college and absolutely dropped out and became a multi-million-dollar business, you know. Steve Jobs is another one. So yes, a fixed mindset could be, you know, as simple as, if you don't go to college, you're not going to make anything of yourself. If you drop out of college, you're not going to make anything of yourself. That's not true either. A fixed mindset can also be, don't try to start a business because it's really hard, you know. Now, let me just be fair and say, if somebody says you've always been impulsive, you've always been inattentive, you always jump from one thing to the next, you don't really seem to have an investment in something long enough, don't start a business. That may be unconditional love speaking, right? Or if you have somebody say, don't give up on your college education because starting a business may not work out for you, that's a loving person trying to give you some advice. But a fixed mindset says, don't do it because A, B, and C is needed and you don't have it. I hope that makes sense. Black Wolverine. Ooh, number one. Interesting screen name. Hello and welcome. Glad to have you in tonight's live chat. Says, just sent this video piece to my daughter. She is going through this with her mom and sister. It's a battle due to the fact as her dad, I solely provide her with a lot of positive energy. Thanks, Doc. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, that's wonderful. Positive energy, you know, positive energy with wisdom and guidance and unconditional positive regard. I'll explain in a minute what that means. That is such a gift. You know, unconditional positive regard means I'm going to do everything that I can in my power to make sure that I support you, and I'm going to get nothing in return. I want you to make it. And I think that's wonderful. Curdy Frazier, hello. Welcome to tonight's live chat. Glad to see you. Yep, Lore Fit is relating to this, obviously. Good to see that. Cherry's Jubilee. Okay, one more comment or a couple more. Lala Papa, I know I messed it up. I'm so sorry. Says, how do people with ADHD handle stress, time management, and possessiveness? Overly protective parent. I am in my early 40s. Ooh. Okay, let's talk about that in tomorrow's live chat. Let's talk about that in tomorrow's live chat. I'm actually going to take a picture of that, okay? Because, got it. I'm going to take a picture of that so that I can come back to it. But if you are with me tomorrow when we discuss a growth mindset and how to accelerate yourself beyond these fixed mindset people, that would be great if you can bring that up, because I can address that then for sure. Okay. Yeah. Black Wolverine says Brooklyn, New York present. Hello. I already just read your comment, but that's awesome. I love when you guys tell me where you're from. That's awesome. I have colleagues that are from Brooklyn, New York. I feel so, I feel like I have ADHD, okay, when I'm in that area, because it's like, oh, that's nice. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at that traffic. Oh my God. I'm like all over the place. I'm so scattered when I'm there. Ooh, I'm going to mess this up. And I should definitely have my glasses on. I'm going to take a stab. Siege Marsh. I messed that up. Help me, okay? Correctly put it in the box for me. I'm going to try to fix that. But hello from Norway. Glad to have you. Thank you for being in tonight's live chat. Okay. Ash, I'm going to say hello to you. Ash, welcome to tonight's live chat. Glad to have you. Says, I watched that video with the triangulation visual and I really liked it. It helped me. That's wonderful. So glad to hear that. Glad to hear that. Andrew Mercer, you're welcome. Okay, one last one, guys. I lied. Chaley, hello. Welcome. I probably messed it up. I apologize. Glad to have you in tonight's live chat. Let's get back to the content. Okay, guys, how this impacts you. Well, let's start with what research says is a major way that this kind of fixed mindset, small mindset can impact you. Okay, these kind of individuals may try to limit your view and your reach, your view and your reach. The way that I interpret that is these kind of individuals may try to limit how far you go in life in any way that they can see fit, right? That's your reach. Okay, I'm going to go, okay, I'm going to go to Norway. I'm going to go to Ireland. I'm going to move to the UK. I'm going to go to South Africa and spend a whole month, right? A family member or a person who has a fixed mindset may try to limit your reach so that you can't feel encouraged enough to try it. They may also try to skew and change your view, right? There are some people, and I absolutely admire them. They have a very robust mindset, and they tend to have a fixed mindset, a growth mindset that can overcome a fixed mindset is what I'm trying to say. And I really admire these people because nothing holds them down. A person with a fixed mindset is going to try to stomp on your coattail and keep you stuck. And the person with a growth mindset or a mindset that says, let's expand ourselves, they can't be minimized, and people like that are so impressive. They just continue to move forward no matter what, and that's what I would call a warrior. But research says, and I've seen this also in my practice and with coworkers and how they care for their clients, that there may be somebody in your life with a fixed mindset who tries to limit both your view or your perception, and they also try to limit your reach as well. They may also say and do things, whether in a direct or indirect way, to change your mind. I once had a client that was in session with her mom, and her mom did not want her to move to Bogota, Colombia. She did not want her to move to that country with her boyfriend. And what does she do every session? Every single session mom was a part of. People who travel outside the country usually end up dead. She says, not that I'm trying to discourage you, but they do. And I have such anxiety about this. And then they would come to the next session, and the mom would say something like, what can you give me, Miss Tamara, that can help me deal with the anxiety that I have? Because I had a nightmare last night that my daughter was kidnapped. And people from Bogota, Colombia, often deal with that. The security over there is awful, and she would just continue to indirectly discourage her daughter. And I had to pull her aside and say, do you realize what you're doing every session? You're holding her back, and you're not saying in a loving way that I'm concerned. You're really coming across as kind of jealous right now, and it's not healthy. And she caught herself. And the next session, she came back and she was like, I just want to explain myself. I never had the opportunity that you had. And, she says, Miss Tamara said I was jealous, and she's right. I've been jealous since you told me. And so then it all came out, So some people who are jealous and envious, they have a fixed mindset. They don't know how to think outside of the box. They will sometimes try to indirectly or directly influence you. Research also suggests that, these kind of individuals try to make reality or life appear really difficult. And they try to make it appear so difficult that you're not going to want to try, I have heard things in passing over the past 15 years of my career. I've heard in my passing, did I say that right? That sounds weird. I've heard in passing is what I'm trying to say. Different individuals make statements like, we couldn't get out of the Bronx. We couldn't get out of the ghetto. So why try? I was counseling a 19-year-old a couple of years ago. She grew up in what they call the projects, but it's kind of like a plan or a place where everybody kind of lives, and it's lower socioeconomic living. The lifestyle there is often difficult or chaotic. There's often a lot of lower socioeconomic families or kids in the area. And so life there can be really, really hard for people. But my 19-year-old, she's probably like 20 something now, but 19-year-old at the time, her mom would say to her, we couldn't make it out of the Bronx. We couldn't make it out of the ghetto. We couldn't make it out of the projects. So why try? And her daughter really did take on that mindset. And her daughter just said, you know what, I give up. So 19-year-old became pregnant. 19-year-old went and got a job down the street, and she's now making minimum wage, trying to care for not one, not two, not three, but 4 kids. Why? Because mom discouraged her. She made life sound difficult, and she made it seem so difficult that my 19-year-old client said, you know what, why even try? Mom says it's hard to get employed. Mom says it's hard for people of my race and ethnicity. Mom says it's really difficult to get through college. Why should I try? So, now this poor young lady is stuck, right? And hopefully over time, she shifts her thinking, because then she can cause intergenerational trauma by perpetuating that fixed mindset onto her now 4 children. Research also suggests, and I have also seen in clinical practice, that these kind of individuals with a fixed mindset can sometimes try to reinforce with you an adaptive mindset that you had. So let me give you an example of this. Let's say, for example, you have grown up in a really complicated family. You are the youngest child of 5, and life has just been really difficult for your family. You not only experienced sexual abuse, but you've also experienced physical and emotional abuse. And because of all the battering that you have had in your family at the hands of multiple family members over a long period of time, an adaptive response to life would be, I'm not going to trust everybody. Why? Because I've been hurt, and I've been hurt by people in my own family. So why would I trust everybody else in the world? That's adaptive for certain people, right? That kind of helps you protect yourself. But let's say you get into the real world, you fall in love, you find somebody that loves you and cares for you, you find a job that you feel safe in, you find somebody that you're going to marry, and you bring children into this world. Life is good for you. It may not be wonderful, but it's good, right? So, okay, let's say that's your life. A person with a fixed mindset, who may be your narcissistic father who's angry that you made it anywhere, may look at you and say, oh, so now all of a sudden you trust people. Well, what about many years ago when you didn't trust me? You didn't trust your brother. You didn't trust your manager of the job you were in. You didn't trust, and they will try to kind of, what's the word? They will try to kind of limit you to an adaptive response that you once had. Yes, I didn't trust people at that time in my life, but now I'm mature. Now I'm grown up. Now I have somebody that loves me. Now I have children. Now I love my job, and I have neighbors and friends that really care for me. So that adaptive response of not trusting people is no longer working for me. And so therefore, I'm going to have a lot in life because I've opened my heart to other people. A narcissistic father that has a fixed mindset may say, well, what happened to that old person that you were? Oh, now you're trusting society, So these kind of people may try to limit you. They may also try to, I'm going to give you this one before I give you the next one. I'm going to turn them around. I have them numbered in my mind. But they may also, individuals with a fixed mindset, it's time for me to get off if I'm getting tired. Individuals with a fixed mindset may also kind of feel positive or relieved. That's the word I'm looking for. Relieved when you don't make it. Relieved when you don't get that job. Relieved when you have such depression and anxiety that it kind of keeps you stuck, And their relief is, whoo, I'm so glad they didn't make it, because how's that going to make me look? I have a fixed mindset and I'm content where I'm at. And here's my cousin over here trying to become a surgeon. She didn't make it. Oh, thank God. Whew. Because now she's going to make me look a certain way. And I've done therapy sessions with people like this, and it astounds me every time. I just can't believe that there are people that exist this way, even as a therapist, but there are. And so, these kind of individuals with a fixed mindset may feel very relieved when you say, you know what? I didn't get that job. You know what? We didn't get married. The marriage was called off. Or, I didn't go to Canada like I wanted to go, And they may say something like, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. When all the while, they're happy that you didn't go anywhere. Let me also say, lastly, in this category, before I go to the chat box and we wrap up, that these kind of individuals may also have not only a feeling of relief, but also joy and contentment. When you just say, you know what, I'm not going to even try anymore. I'm just going to let life take me. I'm going to go where I want to go. I'm lost. I feel lonely. I feel depressed. I feel unmotivated, but this is what I am right now. And a person with a fixed mindset may be like, good, glad I'm not the only one. Or they may feel like, see, I told you life was hard. And yes, life is hard, but some people really exaggerate it, and it's not good. This is tough, right, guys? A fixed mindset, a small mindset, it can keep you stuck like quicksand. Tomorrow, I'm going to discuss a growth mindset, what that looks like, how you can push those negative people out your space. And I'm also going to highlight some research on growth mindset, and then also give you some insights on how to keep moving past these negative people. And for the week of Thanksgiving, I am still working on YouTube. I'm going to be off. So I'm actually going to be giving you guys, I'm not going to be seeing clients and patients that day. I'm actually going to just be giving you guys 5 days of live chats. So going no contact with family over the holidays, how to deal with a childhood that was difficult and now you're an adult. I forgot all the other topics, but there's a lot of topics coming up. So you're going to get topics Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday during the week of Thanksgiving. So, okay, let me go to the chat box so we can wrap up. I'm really behind on comments. Jamal Knuckles, hello and welcome. I don't know what that means. But I'm still going to welcome you. McKenna Lanny says, protecting me, in quotation marks. That's exactly what my parents convinced our community and family and friends to believe. So it's impossible to tell anyone the truth and be believed. Yeah. Yeah. That's a difficult dynamic, McKenna. I'm not sure I have anything to respond back with, but that is really difficult. Yeah. Because maybe I will offer something to that comment, because here's the thing. It's hard to unconvince. That's not even a word, but it's a word tonight. To unconvince somebody or a group of people when something has been incorrectly displayed to them or shown to them or told to them, you know? The only thing that can sometimes unconvince or unwire that confusion and that falsified way is to prove that you can do what it is that you want to do. Sometimes, excuse me, sometimes your behavior has to be that thing that can show people that wasn't true, this is true. Yeah. Oh God, I'm sorry. Yaya says, I'm 20 years old now. My mother is 62. She is offering to give the love she never provided it to me when I was a child. I told her, Mom, you are quirky. Well, let her do it, Yaya. If you feel safe and that's your mom, that's the only mom you're ever going to have, let her do it. Yeah, I'm going to put Cherry's Jubilee, cherry. Am I saying that right? Cherry's Jubilee. I'm going to put her comment on the screen so that you can see it. Yep. She goes on to say arrogant and entitled. Yes, I do not like that. Hence my most recent video. Ellie Wynn says, cold, stingy, core energy resigned. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. Lisa Smith says apprehension. Allie Go. I don't know if I welcomed you. Welcome to tonight's live chat. Says avoidant. Yep. Orlando says, this is what my ex-wife is doing to my daughter. I have not been able to communicate with her and her sister. Been I'm going to say been the victim of parental alienation 3.5 years. Oh boy. You do know that you can bring that before the court. You could bring that before the court. She's not allowed to keep the kids from you unless there's a court-ordered reason why. I'm just going to leave it at that. Elizabeth, I see all your comments tonight. I just haven't been able to click on them. Yeah, Warrior Queen Unicorn. I was reading that way too fast. Hello and welcome. Glad to have you in tonight's live chat. Says education is everything to me. Absolutely. Absolutely. Me too. Yes, you're welcome, Nancy. Thank you so much. And I appreciate your whole being. You're always so sweet. I appreciate all of you for being such a wonderful, supportive audience. And to see how you guys communicate with each other is just beautiful. Believe it or not, sometime I'm going through the live chat 2 hours after it goes off and YouTube makes that chat box available. Sometimes I'm scrolling through it and I am cracking up because some of you guys, you say the funniest things. It's been cold lately. Hello and welcome. I haven't seen you in a little while. So good to see you. 123 ABC. Hello. Glad to see you. I wish I had openings for new people. I actually just took on my last 5 clients. I am maxed until the beginning of March of next year. Please feel free to email me because I do have a waiting list. So Lauren Knight. Oh my God. I'm saying Lauren King. I need to go. Guys, we're going to sign off here in just a little bit. Lauren Knight says, hello and welcome to the live chat. By the way, says, I feel like a fixed mindset is a key pillar in the self-deception of a narcissistic fantasy and the acceptance of only the made-up versions of people in their minds. Goodness, that was good. That was poetic. Rejecting reality 24/7, 365. I can agree with that. That was beautiful. Lisa Smith says, what are your thoughts about the expression I've had echoing in my brain lately? Fear is the opposite of love. What are your thoughts about the expression I've had echoing in my brain lately? Fear is the opposite of love. I don't know if I have any thoughts. Fear is the opposite of love? I don't know. I have to think about that. Maybe it could mean, and I'm going to answer acknowledge a few of you and then go and answer some questions, and then we're going to sign off. I'm not sure, Lisa Smith. I mean, I would say something maybe like Fear is the opposite of love because love is fearless. There's no apprehension to true love, right? You just kind of take that chance, you allow it, you open the door, right? So fear is the opposite of love. Love is not fear. I'm going to leave it at that. Tell me what you think of that, Lisa. Zara, thank you for that. That's so sweet. Mark Lee, hello and welcome. We're going to sign off here in literally 3 minutes. Mark Lee says, haven't heard you talk about your complexity. Diet alone is making people depressed and sick. I'm convinced that most people are being poisoned to some degree. Well, okay. To take it off the delusional, level of I have a feeling or a sense that people are being poisoned. In a health conscious way, they are being poisoned. Go to a normal Starbucks, okay? Get a iced caramel macchiato, and then look up all the sugar and tell me if you don't believe that we're being poisoned. I'll leave it at that. A seat at the King's table with Tanisha. Hello. Doing well. Need to sign off here in 2 minutes. I hope you're doing well. Always glad to see you. The Retro Woman 80 says, Tamara, is far-fetched to have a fixed mindset that is still growth aligned. Like you still wishing well on others, even if you don't seek the life they do. Absolutely. It's not far-fetched at all. No. That's kind of the love that a parent has for their child. It's the love my mom had for me. Okay. When she just had to become a single mom, had to raise my younger brother, me and my older brother. Okay. Without a dad around, my father was a war veteran. Came back messed up, alcoholic, abusive, verbally and physically, emotionally, left my household, not because he wanted to. My mom says, get out. No more alcohol, no more abuse, no more anything. I was 5, and having a mom who pulled me out of the public school education because she just found it way more beneficial to homeschool me and my younger sibling. A mom that struggled for many, many years until I went to college and graduate school. And here I am in my career, having a mom who said, I don't have too much hope in life, but I have a lot of hope in you, was what I needed to become who I am today, right? So that's the love of mom, the Retro Woman 80. That's the love of a dad that says, you know what, I didn't make it anywhere, but run. If I were a mom, this would be my unconditional love for my child. Go further than me. Maybe you're going to go and become president. I don't know. I didn't become president. Let me see you become that, So to me, that's unconditional love and affection. I have a fixed mindset on some pieces of this life, but I want you to make it. I want you to have a growth mindset. So that was awesome, by the way, the Retro Woman 80. Thank you for that wonderful question. Sunshine and Beauty, hello and welcome. So glad that you found me on YouTube, and I'm glad you were able to join us live. We're going to sign off here because I'm going way over time. Just want to make sure I haven't missed too many of you. Okay, I'm seeing repeat comments. Okay, thank you so much, Nancy R. So glad that you love the live chats. Sees the theologian. I probably messed that up. Hello and welcome. I saw you a few times back and I didn't get a chance to get to you. Mr. Frederick, hello and welcome. Yes, I'm sure you have. These are very negative people. Guys, thank you so much, Zara. You're so sweet for saying that. Thank you so much for that. I'm glad this was a helpful live chat. Guys, for those of you that I couldn't get to tonight, just know I see you. I hear you. I will be replaying this just so I can go through your comments and your chats, your chat messages. Thank you so much for being with me in tonight's live chat. Love you so much. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the Friday. I will see you tomorrow. If you guys want to know what a growth mindset actually looks like, we're going to talk about it. So I hope to see you then. Have a good night. Bye, guys.